In fact, I went and had breakfast there a couple of weeks ago. It was one of the worst experiences in my life. Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Have a bit of a chat while I go for a walk with the dog around my local area. A bit of a chat about some of the things that have caught my attention in the press recently, and a few of the subjects that have been popping up on the channel in recent times. So let's go and have a chat. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about today is the fantastic weather that we still have here in some parts of the country, at least in this part of Spain where I am, in the Madrid community. The weather's still fantastic, in the mid-20s. In some parts of the country, it's getting up into the 30s. Not here. It's been a bit wet over the last few days, last few weeks in fact, but the weather has again changed, and the sun and warmer conditions are around for the rest of the week, I believe, and very unusual for this time of year. Now I'll turn the camera around so you can get an idea what the weather is like today. As you can see, a little bit cloudy, but the temperature's quite mild, as I said, around 18-19 degrees at the moment, getting up to around 23-24 today, 26 degrees tomorrow. But as I said, not a lot of sun around, and to be honest, I prefer it that way. Now, they're calling this unseasonal weather here in Spain Verano, which is a sort of a mix between verano, summer, and otoño, autumn. Put the two words together and you get Verano, and that's what the press are calling this. I think we would say an Indian summer, and apparently from what people told me in the chat section yesterday on the live stream, there are various Indian summers around the world at the moment. Canada, I think, has an Indian summer at the moment, so good weather in many parts of the world. And in all the years that I have been living in Spain, I can't remember an end of an October with this type of weather. Normally the weather has changed, normally quite cool this time of year, around 14-15 degrees, maybe 16 degrees on a daily basis, not in the mid-20s. So definitely a change from other years, or at least I can't remember an autumn like this one, but have to take advantage of it. Now, there's been a fair bit of debate on the channel recently about food in Spain and the quality of Spanish food. Somebody in a comment the other day said that in their opinion Spanish food is underwhelming, and not overly impressed with the cuisine that you get in this country. Don't tell a Spaniard that, because Spaniards think that their cuisine is the best in the world. But in some aspects, I agree with that comment, especially when it comes to finding cheap food options in this country. Of course, there is the Menú del Día option, and as you guys know, I've been doing a few videos on the Menú del Día recently with Dave, but it can be difficult to find a decent Menú del Día for the price. But then again, you get what you pay for, right? I mean, let's be honest, for 11, 12, 13 euros, what type of meal should you expect? And I think sometimes with the Menú del Día, it's a little bit hit and miss. Sure, if you want to pay good money, you can find decent food in this country. You only have to look at some of the food bloggers that put that content out there, where they go to fancy restaurants and get fancy meals, and the food does look quite good, but then again, you are paying a lot for that food. In fact, if you go to one of those mid-range restaurants here in Spain, you're probably going to be paying around 30, 35, 40 euros per person, which in my opinion is a lot of money. And as I said, when it comes to the Menú del Día, you can find some good cheap meals, but in general, as I said also, it's a bit hit and miss. And I think another thing that that person was unhappy with in that comment was the lack of variety when it comes to other types of food as well here in Spain. I mean, sure, in the big cities you can get Thai, you can get Italian, you can get Chinese, you can get various types of cuisine, but in some of the smaller cities, that is not the case. In fact, there is a definite lack of variety when it comes to different types of food in some of the smaller cities here in Spain. Even this one that I'm living in here, there's only one Thai restaurant with a population of around 95,000 people. So not many. Chinese food in general is all the same. It doesn't matter which Chinese restaurant you go into. All of the food, the menu is the same. I wouldn't recommend Chinese food in this country unless you're desperate. And when it comes to Italian, unfortunately, some of the dishes that you get in Italian restaurants here are no better than the Italian food you can make at home. So not good when it comes to Italian food either, in my opinion, or at least not in this part of Madrid. And as I said, there's around 95,000 people living here. When it comes to things like kebabs, they're a dime a dozen, but again, they all taste the same. Mexican also, in my opinion, not the best. There are more Mexican restaurants popping up offering burritos and things like that, but again, they all seem to taste the same. So definitely there seems to be a lack of variety when it comes to non-Spanish restaurants in this part of Spain. Finding a fast food restaurant is not an issue. They are in abundance here. You can get Burger King, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeyes, everything that you want from a fast food variety. But when it comes to that middle type of takeaway, not a lot on offer. And don't get me started on burgers in this country. Never have I seen so many mediocre burger restaurants open up over the last couple of years. I don't know what the obsession here is with burgers. Bad burgers in my opinion, but difficult to find a decent burger in this part of Spain in my opinion. It's different if you go into the center of Madrid, plenty of variety there, but of course you have to put up with the crowds in a city like Madrid. So does Spanish cuisine and the restaurant scene here in Spain live up to your expectations? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Now, another hot topic that has been debated on the channel this week is the topic of language use by politicians here in Spain. For example, English. Do Spanish politicians need to be fluent in the English language? That is the question. There was an opinion piece in the El País newspaper the other day criticising the main opposition leader here in Spain, Mr. Feijóo's lack of ability when it comes to English, and lauding the current Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez's ability when it comes to speaking English. I asked the question whether it's necessary or not for politicians to be fluent in English or other languages. Doesn't have to be English, of course it could be German or French, and a lot of people in the comment section saying that yes, it is necessary, and I also agree with that, because after all, these politicians need to be able to negotiate with other people in a common language. Nothing worse than seeing a Spanish politician with an interpreter by his or her side. We saw that with Mr. Rajoy back in the day, we saw it with Zapatero, we saw it also with Aznar. So basically all of the prime ministers that this country has had are not fluent in other languages, and that is except for Pedro Sánchez. And I think being able to speak English reasonably well has added to the international credibility of Pedro Sánchez. At least that's my opinion. Now I'm walking past my local hairdresser, the place where I normally get my hair cut. We had a bit of an issue there yesterday, movida in Spanish. I took my son to get his hair cut. €7.50 special. He was in there for about 30 minutes. Came out, took him home, and let's just say that his mum was not happy with the haircut, and 10 minutes later he was back in the salon getting another haircut, or at least fixing some of the problems that his mother did not like. Apparently the hairdresser wasn't too impressed by this, and not sure if we are in her good books or not. So I might have to be wary the next time that I get my haircut in that hairdressing salon. Now, just going back to the topic of politicians and foreign languages, or prime ministers and foreign languages, somebody pointed out in the comment section, I think it was, that not many British politicians or Australian politicians or US politicians speak foreign languages, and that is true. But I must admit that it is difficult to learn a foreign language when so many people speak your language. In fact, I experience that problem firsthand every time I go to Portugal, try to speak Portuguese, and people start speaking to you in English because obviously they don't feel that your Portuguese level is very good. Who said that people don't celebrate Halloween in Spain? So when you speak a language like English as your first language, and you find so many people around the world able to communicate in that language, then it does make things tough. Yes, people might be a little bit lazy, they don't want to make the effort, but it is very, very difficult indeed if people speak your language. And let's be honest, billions and billions of pounds have been spent trying to promote the English language through things like the British Council, and that's one of the reasons why English is so extended around the world. However, even though English is widely spoken around the world, and you will always find somebody that speaks a little bit of English, I think people should still make an effort to learn the local language if they are going to live in another country, for example Spain or Portugal, because it will come in handy. You don't have to be fluent, but of course B1 level, I think, or a B2 level would be the minimum that you should try to get. But hey, that's just my 20 cents worth. Now I've got the old churro bar over there on my right, and that is an example of terrible Spanish cuisine. In fact, I went and had breakfast there a couple of weeks ago. It was one of the worst experiences in my life. And the final thing I want to talk about today is the nuclear energy debate, which is making headlines in Spain again today, because France has again said that nuclear energy is the way to go for that country. As we know, Spain is in the process of shutting down its nuclear power plants. Not sure how many there are around the country, but maybe 5, maybe 6. There were more, but some never even opened. They were built back in the 1970s because Spain had a plan to go nuclear, but that all changed in 1983 when the socialist government at the time decided that nuclear energy was not for Spain. So a few nuclear power stations here were built back in the 70s and 80s, but they never opened. Some energy companies at the time spent billions and billions of euros, pesetas back then, to buy the land, to build these plants, but they never came into operation. So what happened? Well, the government had to compensate these companies for the billions that they had invested. And what did they do to compensate these companies? Well, they slapped a charge on every electricity bill here in Spain, which lasted for something like 19 years. So every month when you got your electricity bill, or every 2 months, you had this extra charge on it that was compensation for the money lost with these nuclear energy plants that never opened. So just another example of how consumers often get screwed in this country. So on that note, I'll wrap the video up. Been a long walk today. I'm going to check my phone to see if I have closed my rings for the day, if I have met my objectives. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. If you've got an opinion on any of the things that I've spoken about today, please, in that comment section below, give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. See you in the next one. Hasta luego.